I'm Crystal.
And this is Garbage Heart Out of the Can Haunt Review 2015. This, I think, is the big one, though. Mm-hmm. We've been getting requests.
We should have their music right here.
Yeah, we should, but I think that's probably copyrighted. But yeah, but this is the one we've been getting requests for ever since it was first announced they were coming back. It's the one everyone wants.
Which is a clue.
Which is a clue. Yes, it is a clue. It is the House of Shock. I would point to the House of Shock shirt, but the chaos that is haunt season.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
We couldn't find it. We own several. We can't find any. Anyways, sorry about that, guys. That time of year. But anyways, this is indeed, like I said, the big one. Now, let's do our usual prefaces and disclaimers and disclosures thing here. Mm-hmm. Item 1, we went on opening night.
Yes.
We were informed upon leaving that there were some fits and problems, but I didn't really notice any of them. So it doesn't
stand out.
Doesn't really color anything. So that's one. The other is kind of the mindset we went into this with. And that is, I expected, honestly, this time last year, we didn't expect to be doing this review at all. They were supposed to be closing. And I expected to be angry, to a degree, I'll say. Because they came out last year, they said they were closing, they did their swan song, it was very touching, and a lot of people came from everywhere to be part of it. And then they decided not to close. They pulled the trigger about 4 months ago on that. Right. We're not closing, we're reopening after all.
Yes. And the other thing is that they've been advertising that they are all new. And you know, having experience building stuff. 4 months is not a lot of time.
We knew how big
make the House of Shock is. All new.
We knew how big the House of Shock is. We had a rough idea. We know what it takes to build a haunt of any size or any level of detail. And I just figured there was no way without Jesus himself that they could do that.
Or Belial.
Or Belial, yes, or actual Belial. I guess that would be fair and more appropriate. But I knew that it was going to be difficult, if not impossible. But I've got to say, I am remarkably impressed by the amount that is new.
Yes.
Now.
Yes, they were not lying to you when they
were not lying. Now we do have to kind of spin the idea of what does all new mean a little bit here, because we have to be clear. And we'll get into that, I guess, as we do it scene by scene, because they are also pitching 3 separate attractions this year, which is, I think, a bit of a misnomer in a weird way.
Yeah, it might be 3, but it feels like 2.
It feels like 2, and realistically, it's 1 in terms of walkthrough. Because when you say 3 attractions to me, I think like 13th Gate and Necropolis 13, where you get to pick and choose. You can be a total jerk like us and go in the wrong order. Yeah. You know, you get to pick and choose how you do it. There is no choice. It is still 1 walkthrough. Right. To be very clear about that. And they say it's 3 separate attractions. The first one is Seaman Skunkies. I got it right this time.
You did.
Practice. Only took like 4 takes.
Yeah, because the other take we kind of
lost. Yeah. SD card issues. Anyways, point of this is you have Seaman Skunkies, Bordello of Freaks. Yes. And this...
It's like you looked it up or something.
I know. It's almost like I was actually researching this or something. But that sequence was akin to what I thought would be like going to a museum. Like if you've ever been to the Muir Museum in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The real Philadelphia. Not that fake one.
I'm sure they will love you for that.
Oh, I'm getting letters already.
For the Muir Museum, it's a wonderful place to go. I want that to basically be my living room. I want it there.
Yeah, it's filled with medical oddities. It's like, conjoined twins, things people have choked on. It's
giant skeletons.
Giant skeleton men. Yeah. But it's all real stuff. Mm-hmm. It feels like that type of environment, but staffed. Right. It's not a lot of jump scares or startles. It's very creepy, very unsettling, but a lot of cool stuff to look at. Yeah. So it was very interesting. It was also very brief, though, it felt like. Yes. I think we were through that part in like 4 to 5 minutes.
I think that it was timed at 7.
That was with the Laugh-In 3D, though.
Oh, okay.
We timed the first 2 attractions were timed together.
Okay.
Because basically what happens is you go through that sequence, and you go through Laugh-In 3D, which is literally a 3D thing. They will hand you some 3D glasses, which, by the way, you keep.
Yes.
There was some confusion in line about
we were looking for boxes to where to put them at the end.
Recycle your glasses. Like when you leave a movie theater, they have to recycle the glass. There's nothing like that. You don't recycle them. You don't throw them out. They're loaded with ads.
Yes.
From various sponsors.
Take a look at them.
So take a look at them and keep them.
Yes.
But yeah, then you get into a sub queue after that, which is when you enter the House of Shock. But Laugh in 3D.
Yes. Laugh in 3D. I actually really enjoyed it. You, on the other hand, are already wincing.
Okay. Back in the previous iterations of the House of Shock, there was a room near the middle of it.
Right.
It was obviously this awkward transition. I don't know what was going on structurally. It was obviously an odd transition to the hallway, hairpin turn, and then it comes back. And you couldn't do a squat with this room.
Right.
I understand the challenges of trying to design a haunt with that type of room.
Yes.
You're screwed.
We have a corner that's always a problem.
Right there.
Yes.
Yeah, we know that type of room happens and it exists. We get that. So I never really held it against them. It's just, but they would always have like black light and a train whistle and some clowns. And it's like they took that room and they made a whole attraction of it.
Yes.
And it's clown themed.
It is.
And clowns are kind of dangerous because it's something you're either terrified of or something like me, it's a clown. I grew up watching Bozo.
Yeah.
And I'm not really bothered by it.
Yeah, I'm not bothered by them. So here's what I like about it. It is fun.
It is fun. I will get right.
And there is no attraction like it in the area.
I have not seen anything like that anywhere we've gone.
Right.
To be fair. And yeah, it's a very different attraction. And the 3D element is actually very well done.
Yeah.
I will warn you, if you have any kind of vision issue, especially if you wear glasses, you're going to struggle with this.
Right.
It's not meant for you.
And I had to do this or put it behind my headband.
Yeah,
because the glasses don't want to stay on.
They were fine for me, but a lot of people do report problems with that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you have vision issues, be warned. I'm glad I'd had my LASIK previously, or I might have really struggled with it.
And be sure when you're going through it to look around everywhere, including above you.
Yes. And the 3D effect is pretty cool, like I said, and there's scares coming from all angles. They do attack you a lot in this. It's kind of jarring because the first section is very muted. The colors are muted. The actors aren't really trying to scare you. They're just trying to be disconcerting. And then you get into this, bam, 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 attack sequence.
Right.
And then you get out and it's kind of like, what the hell just happened?
And now we're in another line.
Yeah, now you're in another like mini or micro line. It's not nearly as bad as the first line. No. We'll get onto the line in a minute. We'll come back to it. And then you enter the proper House of Shock, which is significantly shorter this year. Previously, the House of Shock was A, the only attraction, and B, it was about a 25 to 30 minute walkthrough.
Right.
Now the whole thing is about 20 to 22 minutes. So a decent amount is clipped out. But the first 7 minutes are the first two attractions, so you only spend about 15 minutes in the House of Shock.
Right.
I gotta say though, the first two attractions were obviously all new.
Yes.
I don't think anything other than the damn train whistle came from the House of Shock. I hate that freaking train whistle so much. I can't. It's not even. It doesn't scare me. It just annoys me. Mm-hmm. It's sad how much it annoys me, but
apparently
it is. But the House of Shock itself had a fair amount new. Now that being said, and this is where we kind of had to qualify the all-new statement.
Right.
There were portions that if you have keen eyes and good memories, you'll recognize. The church sequence is in there.
Yes.
As is the New Orleans, like, Bourbon Street sequence.
Yes.
But
and the dragons are there.
And the dragons are there. But in both cases, you do them backwards. In the two scenes I was talking about, the New Orleans and the chapel, you do them from a different angle, a different walkthrough. So that way it looks very, very different.
Well, and they've added a lot new too, though.
They did. No, there is a lot new. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's just those two.
Yeah, it's the same setting, but there's still new stuff.
Yeah, there's new stuff in there.
Yeah.
And they did keep the caves and the church in there as well, and those were largely intact.
Right.
So that part will feel very, very familiar. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I think it was pretty much entirely rebuilt, and we spoke with some of the people who worked on it outside.
Yeah.
And yeah, they had to pull a Herculean effort to make this happen.
Yeah,
My hat is off to them. That's very impressive.
Yeah, and there were a couple of spots, if you know what to look for, you can tell that they didn't quite finish everything they had set out to do. But, it's only minor, and unless you're us, you're probably not going to notice.
Yeah, people in the haunt community basically will notice that. all in all, I thought this was a very, very strong return. Like I said, I wanted to be grumpy. I wanted to come in here and say the House of Shock didn't close. They came back and they didn't change anything and blah, blah. But I can't do that.
Yes, and in fact, whenever we went, Ellie might have replaced Marie back here because she wanted to go and get mad and then come on to the review and be mad at them. But she's not here.
Marie's still here.
Yeah. Everybody in the group was happy with the House of Shock.
That being said, though, I think for me the House of Shock had a different feel this year than in previous years.
Yes.
I don't want to say toned down because toned down indicates fewer scares, but from a content standpoint, it was definitely toned down. Other than Seaman Skungy's borderline X-rated intro outside, the content inside the haunt was much more, I guess you would say, what you would typically see in a haunted house.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think of it as being any worse than most other haunted attractions. In fact, one thing I was thinking about before we did this was that with the mortuary having its fake boobies everywhere in that haunt, there's like more non-kid friendly material in the mortuary than the House of Shock.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird to think about that, considering all the death metal and satanic themes of the House of Shock. But, yeah, so that weird element. To me, though, the biggest gripe was the line.
Yes.
That was really frustrating. Because you go in, you have the stage show again. And we didn't talk about the stage show initially, and that was a huge oversight.
It was. Well, this is like the third time we've done it,
I
so
know.
we might forget stuff.
Yeah.
Or do it out of order.
Yeah, we're going to do it out of order. But yeah, the stage show was all new.
It was.
And no spoilers. Like, we're trying not to do spoilers within the haunt. I'm going to give you a general feel of what you're experiencing. The stage show was all new, and it does explain how it came back.
How they got back.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
I really
liked the big new effect.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give it away.
No.
You'll know it when you see it. Because I'm expecting you to go.
The show has a decisive climax.
Yes.
You will know it. It is awesome.
Yes.
That is it.
That's it.
But yeah, it's really, really cool, and it fits, I think, well with the lore that the House of Shock has created around itself.
Right.
And it fits the right tone. And thankfully, it's not the same story of Priest and Belial fight and they have a tiff.
Yeah.
It's something new. It's something different. And I think that brings some new life into it.
Yes.
The biggest problem is the stage show is shorter, which I thought was actually good. It was more packed, more dense.
Right.
But once the stage show ends and they start letting people in, the queue line for us, and we were not the last in our line.
No.
And we were not there on a particularly busy night. We were there opening night. It was busy, but not slammed.
It stayed busy, too. I mean, we were about in the 200 to between 200 and 300
we were pretty far.
Yeah.
We were about 3/4 the way into the queue, I think.
Yeah.
Probably significantly more in number than that, but we were about two-thirds of the way back in the queue. It took us an hour and 5 minutes from the time the line started moving to when we got in the front door.
Right.
And I can already hear the shouting in Jefferson as I say that, make up your mind! Because, previously we talked about how there was a conga line and everyone's going through in bunches of hundreds and you can't get scared because there's 100 people in front of you and 100 people behind you. Now they're breaking up in groups and the queue takes forever.
Yes.
And
by the way, hi Robert!
Yes, hi Robert, met a fan in line.
Yes.
That was awesome. But yeah, you get broken up into groups now and the queue takes forever.
Yes.
And so yeah, bring comfy shoes and be prepared to stand in a gravel lot in Jefferson for a while if you do this.
Yeah, because that's going to be, unfortunately, the largest part of your experience.
Yeah, and it really is unfortunate. Now, they do try to temper it a little bit.
Yes.
They have Seaman Skunky come out, and he's making jokes, and he's doing some comedy routines, and they have a freak show.
Yes.
Only problem with both of those things.
We couldn't see any of it.
Not for like 90% of the time we were in line. Could not see any of them.
And when you specify a freak show, I mean, we do need to say a little bit. It's a suspension show and a sword
swallower and girl who does
kind of,
does the nail in the nose type stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like a freak show. It's what they bill it as a freak show for the purpose of this. But yeah, I mean, it's cool, it's good, and there were some people in line that were really stoked about seeing it.
They were really freaked out because they were like, my skin would come off if I did that. I'm like, oh my god. You've never seen this, have you?
Like, oh my god, Becky.
Don't do that.
Okay, I won't. But no, it was just yeah. Some people aren't really impressed by it. I've been going to suspension shows and things like that for over 15 years now.
Yeah. Where it's at least part of the background at events.
So and they've had these shows at the House of Shock for as long as we've been going to the House of Shock. I think.
I don't remember.
As far back as I can remember, they've had them. They've had them for at least a long time.
Yes.
Okay, but
I'll agree with you on that.
Maybe not as far back as we've been going, but the bottom line is, we couldn't see it for about 80% of the time because it was all on ground level, and we're snaking our way through a giant mass of people. If they could find a way to elevate this, put it on a stage, that would help a lot, and make sure that the entire crowd has an angle on it, because when you're at certain parts of the queue, snakes back and forth. When you're at certain points in the queue, especially the extremes, you don't have a good angle for viewing, even if you do not have anyone in front of you.
Right. Yeah.
So that can be tweaked and worked on, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, the line, I think, was probably the worst part.
It was, and we tried to come up with different suggestions on how to fix it.
And we're going to be straight, we don't have the answer.
No.
And the problem really is the stage show causes the line to bunch and become really long, and then you either have to clear the line out quickly through a conga line, or just tell people to wait.
Yeah.
So.
Or break it up somehow by actually breaking up the attractions, the first and second half.
Yeah. That way, if I want to go to the Bordello of Freaks and I guess you could do it like 2 attractions, because the Bordello of Freaks and Laugh in 3D, I think, could not stand independently as an attraction from a time standpoint.
Right, and I think they're built together too.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much built together. So just do that one as a separate attraction, or you can go in line to the House of Shock. That's a possibility. But that's going to require rethinking their entire front of house, and I don't think that's a this season solution to it. But yeah, I mean, all in all, House of Shock is back, and I'm not displeased with how they returned.
No.
I expected to be grumpy. I expected to have a lot of complaints, but they really did deliver on the all new. They did, even though I have a hard time thinking of it as 3 attractions because it's one path, it's 3 very different feels.
Right.
They definitely delivered on what they promised.
Yes.
So all in all, I'm very happy with them this year.
Yes.
I think it's a good attraction. I think they did a lot of good work, and
I think I've had the most fun this year at it.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I think this was
maybe the very first year that we went, and then this year.
Yeah, I remember the very first time we went was pre-Hurricane Katrina. We went to 1 or 2 then the storm, and then we started going 2006 on. We skipped a couple of years here and there. But yeah, I think this, of all the years we've been to the House of Shock, this was probably my favorite year, just because so much was new and was fresh to me. It felt like an all-new attraction.
Yes.
Now, the key is going to be how do you keep it fresh and new without tearing down the entire haunt every time. Just a thought there, guys. That's going to be your challenge.
That's thinking ahead.
Yeah, that's next season's problem, though. Well, any final thoughts?
No.
Anything else? Okay.
Just, go check them out. They are all new.
You
haven't seen this House of Shock. I guarantee you have not seen this House of Shock.
I agree. I still wish they changed the name to give a little more closure to the people who went out of their way last season.
Yeah.
But that being said, that House of Shock that existed last year does not exist.
Yep.
So, name or no name, that House of Shock is gone.
So I guess it did have a final thought.
I guess in a weird way it did. Like I said, just wish the name reflected that.
Yeah.
Well, anything else? Well, on that note, everyone, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
This was Garbage Heart Out of the Can, Haunt Review 2015 for the House of Shock Resurrection. The full name, actually, is House of Shock Resurrection. Even though technically they never really... we're not getting into that one. We'll see you next time.